The wine glass shattered against marble as Sana whispered those 5 words that would seal her fate. All I want for my birthday is you. The Korean Mafia boss across the table went completely still, his dark eyes turning molten with something dangerous and possessive. She'd meant it as a joke, a desperate deflection from the drunk businessman pawing at her uniform. But Kong Minho heard it as a vow, a challenge, an invitation to claim what his cold heart suddenly, violently needed. He stood with lethal grace, and Sana realized too late that some men don't hear wishes. They make them come true, whether you're ready or not. Welcome to Afrokorean Stories, besties. Please like, share, and subscribe. Sana had been working at the Golden Phoenix restaurant in Gangnam for exactly 3 months when her life changed forever. The upscale establishment catered to Seoul's elite, the kind of place where a single bottle of wine cost more than her monthly rent. She moved between tables with practiced efficiency, her curves drawing appreciative glances she'd learned to ignore. At 26, she'd perfected the art of being invisible while standing in plain sight. The evening started like any other. Sana tied her hair back, smoothed her black uniform that never quite fit right across her hips, and prepared for another shift of fake smiles and aching feet. Her manager, Mrs. Park, handed her the VIP section assignment with a warning look that said everything. Be professional. Be invisible. Don't make trouble. The VIP section occupied the entire top floor, accessible only by private elevator. Sana had served there twice before, both times feeling like she'd stepped into a different world. The men who dined there moved with the casual confidence of those who owned everything they touched. Their suits cost more than her education. Their watches could buy her family's village back home in Kenya. Tonight's party was celebrating something, though Sana didn't know what. 15 men in black suits occupied the largest private room, their laughter sharp and dangerous. She recognized the type immediately. Not businessmen. Something darker. Something that made the other waitresses draw straws to avoid serving them. Sana lost that draw. She entered the room with a tray of expensive whiskey, keeping her eyes down and her movements efficient. The men barely glanced at her as she set down glasses and poured drinks. Good. Invisible was safe. Then she saw him. Kong Minho sat at the head of the table like a king holding court. He was younger than she expected, maybe early 30s, with the kind of face that belonged on magazine covers. Sharp jawline, high cheekbones, dark eyes that seemed to see through walls. His black suit was perfectly tailored, his hair styled back to reveal a face that was almost too beautiful to be real. But it was the aura around him that made Sana's hands tremble slightly as she poured his drink. Power. Danger. Control. He didn't look at her. Didn't acknowledge her presence at all. Just continued his conversation in rapid Korean while she worked. Sana should have been relieved. Instead, something in her chest felt oddly disappointed. The next hour passed without incident. Sana refilled glasses, cleared plates, and maintained her invisible status. The men's conversation grew louder with each round of drinks, their laughter more reckless. She caught fragments. Business deals. Territory disputes. Names that made the other men flinch. Then everything changed. One of the men, drunk and bold, grabbed Sana's wrist as she leaned over to clear his plate. His grip was tight, possessive, his words slurred in broken English. Pretty girl. You stay. Have drink with us. Sana's training kicked in. She smiled politely, trying to extract her wrist without causing a scene. I'm working, sir. Please let me go. The man laughed, pulling her closer. His breath stank of alcohol and something meaner. Birthday today. You give me present, yes? His free hand reached for her hip. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Sana felt it before she saw it. The sudden tension, the way every conversation stopped mid-sentence. The drunk man must have felt it too because his grip loosened slightly. All I want for my birthday is you. The words tumbled out of Sana's mouth before she could stop them, a desperate deflection aimed at the drunk man. If it's your birthday, then I'll be your present. Just for tonight. She meant it as a joke, a way to deflect his attention and extract herself. Instead, she made a catastrophic mistake. Because the words weren't heard by the drunk man. They were heard by Kong Minho. Sana watched in horror as the mafia boss stood slowly from his seat. His movements were controlled, predatory, like a tiger stretching before the kill. His dark eyes fixed on her for the first time all evening, and Sana felt the impact like a physical blow. He looked at her like he was seeing the sun for the first time after years of darkness. The drunk man released Sana immediately, stumbling back with apologies tumbling from his lips. The other men around the table went silent, their faces ranging from shock to barely concealed terror. Something had happened. Something Sana didn't understand. It's my birthday. Kong Minho's voice was deep, smooth, absolutely lethal. His Korean accent wrapped around each English word like silk around steel. Not his. Mine. Sana's heart stopped. The mafia boss moved toward her with measured steps. Each footfall echoed in the silent room. The other men seemed to fade into the background, becoming irrelevant. There was only him, moving closer, his eyes never leaving her face. You said all you want for your birthday is me. Minho stopped directly in front of her, close enough that Sana could smell his cologne, expensive and dark. Today is my birthday. So I accept your offer. I didn't. Sana's voice came out breathless. She tried again, stronger. I wasn't talking to you. I was trying to get him to stop. But you said the words. Minho's hand came up, not touching her, just hovering near her cheek. And I heard them. His eyes searched her face like he was memorizing every detail. I heard them, and something in me answered. Something that's been dead for a very long time. The intensity in his gaze made Sana's knees weak. This wasn't right. This couldn't be happening. She was just a waitress. He was clearly someone important, someone dangerous. This was a misunderstanding that would be laughed about tomorrow. Except Minho wasn't laughing. His hand finally made contact, fingers gentle against her jaw. Tell me your name. Sana. Her name came out as a whisper. Sana Amandi. Sana. He repeated it like a prayer, like a vow. His thumb brushed her lower lip, and electricity shot through her entire body. Beautiful. It suits you. One of the other men cleared his throat nervously. Boss, perhaps we should discuss this privately. The girl is just a waitress. She didn't understand what she was saying. Minho's eyes never left Sana's face, but his voice went ice cold. Did I ask for your opinion? No, boss. The man's voice trembled. I apologize. Leave us. All of you. The room cleared in seconds. 15 grown men scrambled for the exit like children fleeing a monster. The door closed with a soft click, leaving Sana alone with the most dangerous man in Seoul. She should have been terrified. Part of her was. But a larger, more reckless part was fascinated by the way he looked at her. Like she was water and he'd been dying of thirst. Like she was air and he'd been drowning. Like she was everything he'd never known he needed until this exact moment. I should explain. Sana forced herself to speak, to break whatever spell was weaving between them. What I said, it wasn't an offer. It was just words. I was trying to deflect that drunk man's attention. I know. Minho's voice was soft, almost gentle. But the universe doesn't care about intentions. It cares about truth. And the truth is, you said those words, I heard them, and something inside me woke up. His other hand came up to frame her face, holding her like she was made of glass. I don't believe in fate. I don't believe in destiny. I built my empire on cold logic and calculated violence. But tonight, when you whispered those 5 words, everything I thought I knew became irrelevant. Sana's breath caught. This was insane. This was impossible. But she couldn't deny the pull between them, magnetic and terrifying. I don't even know who you are. Her hands came up instinctively to rest on his chest, feeling his heartbeat through expensive fabric. Racing just as fast as hers. I'm the man who owns this restaurant. Minho leaned closer, his breath warm against her lips. I'm the man who controls half of Seoul's underground. I'm the man people cross the street to avoid. His forehead touched hers. And as of tonight, I'm the man who belongs to you. You can't just claim me. Sana tried to sound firm, tried to inject reality into this fever dream. I'm not a possession. No. His agreement surprised her. You're not a possession. You're everything. There's a difference. Before Sana could respond, Minho stepped back, putting distance between them. His expression shifted, becoming more controlled, though his eyes remained heated. Tomorrow is your day off. His tone made it clear he already knew her schedule. I'm sending a car for you at 6 in the evening. We're having dinner. That sounds like an order, not an invitation. It is. A small smile played at the corner of his mouth. I'm not a man who asks permission. But I'm also not a man who forces. If you don't want to come, send the car away. His smile faded. But know this, Sana Almondi. I will spend every day for the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of those 5 words you spoke. Whether you come tomorrow or a year from tomorrow, I will wait. I will fight. I will win. The certainty in his voice should have been arrogant. Instead, it felt like a promise carved in stone. The following day, Sana told herself she wouldn't go. She told her roommate, told the bathroom mirror, told the rational part of her brain that kept screaming warnings. Kong Minho was dangerous. He was a mafia boss. He was everything she should run from. But at 5:30, she found herself standing in front of her tiny closet, trying to decide what to wear. Her roommate, another waitress named Lisa, watched with barely concealed excitement. You're really going? With the Kong Minho? Sana paused, her hand on a simple black dress. You know who he is? Everyone knows who he is. Lisa's eyes went wide. He's the youngest head of the Kong family in 3 generations. They say he took over after his father was killed when he was only 25. Built the empire even bigger, more powerful. Nobody crosses him twice because there's never a second time. The words should have sent Sana running. Instead, they made her heart race faster. He's dangerous, Lisa continued. But the rumors also say he's completely loyal to the people he claims. Never married. Never even seen with women. Some people think he's cold, incapable of real emotion. Sana remembered the heat in his eyes, the gentleness of his touch. That man wasn't cold. He was a volcano wrapped in ice, and she'd somehow cracked the surface. At exactly 6, a black Mercedes pulled up outside her apartment building. The driver, a serious-looking man in his 40s, opened the door with a respectful bow. Miss Almondi, I'm here to escort you to Mr. Kong. Sana's hands trembled as she slid into the back seat. The interior smelled of leather and luxury. There was a small box on the seat beside her, wrapped in elegant paper. She opened it to find a simple silver bracelet with a single charm, a phoenix rising from flames. The note attached read, "For new beginnings. M." The restaurant Minho chose wasn't like the Golden Phoenix. It was smaller, intimate, tucked away in a quiet neighborhood. The kind of place that didn't advertise because it didn't need to. The kind of place where privacy was guaranteed. Minho was waiting in a private room, standing by floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the Han River. He'd traded his black suit for dark slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms that made Sana's mouth go dry. He looked younger like this. Less dangerous. Though the intensity in his eyes hadn't dimmed at all. You came. His relief was palpable. I thought you might send the car away. I considered it. Sana touched the bracelet on her wrist. Thank you for this. It's beautiful. It's a promise. Minho moved toward her slowly, like approaching a skittish animal. That no matter how many times you burn, you'll rise again. Stronger. Better. The evening unfolded like a dream. They sat across from each other, and Minho asked questions. Not invasive ones. Not the kind designed to extract information. Just genuine curiosity about who she was. Sana found herself telling him about Kenya, about her family, about coming to Seoul with big dreams and finding reality much harder than expected. She told him about her mother's illness back home, about sending money every month, about feeling torn between two worlds. Minho listened like every word mattered. His eyes never left her face. He asked follow-up questions that showed he was actually hearing her, not just waiting for his turn to speak. When it was his turn, he talked about his own struggles. Growing up in the shadow of his father's empire. Taking over at 25 when violence stole his family. Building something bigger, stronger, but feeling hollow inside because power meant nothing without purpose. I've had everything money can buy since I was born, he said quietly. But I've never had anything I actually wanted. Until last night, when you whispered those 5 words and something inside me remembered what wanting feels like. The confession hung between them, vulnerable and honest. The next few weeks passed in a blur. Minho pursued Sana with single-minded intensity. Flowers arrived at her apartment daily. Not generic roses, but thoughtful arrangements. Sunflowers because she'd mentioned they reminded her of home. Orchids because he'd noticed them in a photo on her phone. Peonies because the color made her smile. He showed up at unexpected times. At the restaurant, sitting quietly in her section, his eyes following her movements. At the market where she shopped, appearing at her elbow to carry her bags. At the bus stop in the rain, with an umbrella and a car to drive her home. But he never pushed. Never demanded more than she was willing to give. His courtship was patient, persistent, overwhelming in its attention to detail. He learned everything about her. Her favorite coffee order. The songs that made her dance when she thought nobody was watching. The way she bit her lip when concentrating. The fact that she missed her nephew's voice more than anything else. 3 weeks after their first dinner, Minho arranged a video call with her family in Kenya. He'd paid for a new phone for her mother, set up internet, made it possible for Sana to see their faces in real time. The gift left her speechless, tears streaming down her face as she heard her nephew's laugh for the first time in months. "How did you know?" she asked afterward, her voice thick with emotion. "Because you light up every time you mention them." Minho wiped her tears with gentle fingers. "And I want to be the reason you light up like that. So I'll give you the world if that's what it takes." But the pursuit wasn't one-sided. Sana found herself thinking about him constantly. The way his rare smiles transformed his entire face. How he was ruthless in business but gentle with her. The careful way he touched her, like she was precious. The heat in his eyes when he thought she wasn't looking. She started looking forward to his surprise appearances. Started choosing her outfits with him in mind. Started feeling disappointed on the rare days when he didn't show up. Then came the night that changed everything. Sana was closing up at the restaurant when 3 men cornered her in the back alley. They weren't drunk. They weren't random. They were deliberate, calculated, dangerous. The leader grabbed her arm, his grip bruising. "Message for Kong Minho. Tell him the Park family doesn't forget insults. Tell him we know his weakness now." Terror flooded through Sana. This was what Lisa had warned about. This was the danger of being connected to a man like Minho. She opened her mouth to scream, but another man clamped his hand over her lips. Then the alley exploded into violence. Minho appeared like an avenging angel, moving with lethal precision. He took down the first man with brutal efficiency, his fist connecting with devastating force. The second man pulled a knife, but Minho disarmed him in seconds, breaking his wrist with an audible crack. The leader tried to run. Minho caught him by the throat, slamming him against the wall. His voice was arctic cold, nothing like the gentle man who'd courted Sana for weeks. "You touched her. You put your hands on what's mine." Minho's grip tightened. I should kill you right here. Slowly. Painfully. Make an example that echoes through every family in Seoul. Please. The man choked out. We were just following orders. I don't care. Minho's other hand came up, and Sana saw the gun for the first time. You touched her, and that's a death sentence. Minho. Sana's voice broke through his rage. Please don't. He went completely still, like she'd cast a spell. Slowly, carefully, he looked at her over his shoulder. His eyes were wild, dangerous, barely human. Please. She stepped closer, even though every instinct screamed to run. I'm okay. You got here in time. Don't do this. Don't make me watch you become a killer because of me. Something in her words reached him. The wildness faded slightly, replaced by agonized conflict. For you, he said quietly. Only for you would I show mercy. He released the man, who collapsed gasping. Minho turned to Sana, and his hands were shaking as he reached for her face. Did they hurt you? Tell me the truth. I'm scared. Her honesty seemed to hurt him more than any wound. But I'm not hurt. You came in time. I should have had more security on you. Minho pulled her against his chest, his heart thundering beneath her ear. I should have anticipated this. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. The apology shattered something inside Sana. This powerful, dangerous man was apologizing to her. Shaking with fear for her. Showing her the vulnerable core beneath all that control. Take me home. She whispered against his chest. You're home. I don't want to be alone tonight. Minho's arms tightened around her. Are you sure? Yes. His penthouse was exactly what she expected. Modern, minimalist, expensive. But there was also unexpected warmth. Books on shelves. Art that looked personal rather than decorative. Photos of family. Sana stood in his living room, still trembling with residual fear and something else. Something electric and inevitable. Minho kept his distance, giving her space. I can call a car if you want to go home. Or I have guest rooms. You don't have to. I know. Sana turned to face him, her decision made. I don't want a guest room. The air between them went electric. Minho's eyes darkened, his control visibly fraying. Sana, if you stay, if we do this, there's no going back. I told you I'm not a man who asks permission. But I'm also not a man who forces. Tell me what you want. You. The word came out stronger than she felt. I want you. All of you. He crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling her against him with desperate need. His kiss was consuming, claiming everything she'd been dreaming about since that first night. Sana melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt, all her carefully maintained distance burning away. Minho lifted her effortlessly, carrying her toward his bedroom while his mouth never left hers. He laid her on his bed with reverent care, his eyes searching hers one more time. Last chance to change your mind. Stop asking permission. Sana pulled him down to her. Take what's yours. Something in him broke. Or maybe it finally healed. His control shattered, replaced by desperate need. He touched her like she was salvation, like she was air, like she was everything he'd been missing his entire life. The night blurred into passion and promises. Minho showed her exactly how much he wanted her, worshipped every curve, every soft place. He whispered in Korean and English, words of devotion and possession that made her burn. When dawn came, Sana woke wrapped in expensive sheets and Minho's arms. He was already awake, watching her with an expression so tender it made her chest ache. Morning. His voice was rough from sleep. How do you feel? Like everything changed. It did. He kissed her forehead. You're mine now. Completely. No taking it back. The possessiveness should have bothered her. Instead, it made her feel safe. Protected. Chosen. The next days were perfect. Minho kept her close, introducing her to his world slowly. She met his inner circle, men who looked at her with respect once they understood her importance to their boss. She saw the business side, the legitimate operations that funded the empire. But she also saw the darkness. The enemies circling. The constant danger. The weight Minho carried every single day. 2 weeks after that first night together, everything fell apart. Sana was shopping with Lisa when they were surrounded. Not by thugs this time. By a woman in her 50s, elegant and cold, flanked by bodyguards. So you're the African waitress who's bewitched my son. The woman's Korean was crisp, her disdain obvious. Mrs. Park, Minho's mother. Sana's heart sank. She'd known this confrontation was coming. Had dreaded it. How much? Mrs. Park pulled out a checkbook. Name your price. Leave my son alone, go back to your country, and never contact him again. The insult hit harder than any physical blow. Sana felt tears burning, but she refused to let them fall. I don't want your money. Everyone wants money. Mrs. Park's smile was cruel. You're just holding out for more. Fine. I'll double whatever number you have in your head. My son is destined for a proper match. Not some foreign waitress trying to trap him. The word struck deep, hitting every insecurity Sana had been nursing. She wasn't enough. Wasn't right. Didn't belong. I'll talk to Minho. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. Tell him this isn't working. Smart girl. Mrs. Park snapped her checkbook closed. Finally, someone with sense. That night, Sana couldn't bring herself to go to Minho's penthouse. She stayed in her apartment, staring at her phone, trying to find the words to end things. For his own good. For his future. Minho arrived at midnight, letting himself in with the key she'd given him. He took one look at her face and knew. My mother got to you. His voice was flat, dangerous. What did she say? The truth. Sana forced herself to meet his eyes. That I'm not right for you. That you need someone from your world. Someone who belongs. And you believed her. Minho's expression turned arctic. You're actually going to walk away because my mother threw money at you? It's not just her. Sana's voice broke. It's everything. The attacks. The danger. The fact that I'm constantly terrified something will happen to you because of me. The fact that I don't fit in your world. Minho was across the room in seconds, pulling her against him with desperate force. You don't fit in my world because you are my world. Everything else is just noise. Your mother said. I don't care what she said. His hands framed her face, forcing her to look at him. I don't care what anyone says. You're mine. Mine. And I'm not letting you go because you're scared. I'm not strong enough for this. Tears finally spilled over. I'm just a waitress from Kenya. You deserve someone better. Better. Minho laughed bitterly. You think there's someone better than the woman who makes me feel human? The woman I'd burn the world down to protect? The woman who whispered 5 words and brought me back to life? He kissed her desperately. I love you. I'm in love with you. Completely. Irrevocably. And I don't give a fuck who knows it or who approves. The confession broke Sana's resolve. She kissed him back, pouring everything she felt into the connection. I love you too. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for doubting us. Never again. Minho's voice turned commanding. Never doubt my commitment to you. Never listen to anyone who says you're not enough. You're everything. That night, they made love with desperate intensity. When morning came, Minho had a plan. Marry me. Sana choked on her coffee. What? Marry me. He pulled out a ring that looked like it cost more than her entire village. Right now. Today. We'll go to the courthouse, make it legal, and then nobody can question your place in my life. Minho, we've only been together a month. I don't care. His eyes were fierce. I know what I want. I've known since you whispered those 5 words. Marry me, let me protect you legally, let me claim you completely. Against all logic, Sana found herself nodding. Yes. They were married that afternoon in a simple ceremony with Minho's inner circle as witnesses. His mother wasn't invited. Neither was his extended family. Just the people who mattered, the people who supported them. When Minho slid the ring onto her finger, he whispered in Korean. Then English. You're mine forever now. No escape. Sana smiled through happy tears. I don't want to escape. But marriage didn't mean safety. 2 weeks later, a rival faction made their move. They grabbed Sana while she was visiting her old apartment, drugging her before she could scream. She woke in darkness, tied to a chair, terror flooding through her. Voices argued nearby in Korean. Ransom. Revenge. Making an example. Then explosions. Gunfire. Screaming. The door burst open, and Minho appeared like an avenging angel. His face was splattered with blood, his eyes wild and dangerous. He cut through her restraints with shaking hands. Are you hurt? His voice broke on the words. Did they touch you? Did they hurt you? I'm okay. Sana collapsed into his arms. You came. Always. He carried her out through carnage she tried not to see. I will always come for you. Always. The rescue made headlines. The youngest Kong heir going to war for his foreign wife. Burning down an entire rival operation, killing everyone involved, leaving a message written in blood and violence. Seoul's underworld learned a valuable lesson that day. Touch what belonged to Kong Minho, and there would be no mercy. No negotiation. Only death. 3 months after the rescue, Sana stood in Minho's penthouse, staring at a pregnancy test. 2 pink lines stared back at her, undeniable and terrifying and wonderful. She found Minho in his office, working late as always. He looked up when she entered, his expression softening instantly. Come here. He held out his hand. I've barely seen you today. Sana took his hand, let him pull her into his lap. She handed him the test without preamble. Minho went completely still. His eyes moved from the test to her face and back again. We're having a baby? Yes. Sana searched his expression nervously. Are you happy? Happy. Minho set the test down carefully, like it was made of glass. His hands came up to frame her face, and she saw tears in his eyes for the first time. I'm terrified. I'm overwhelmed. I'm more grateful than I have words for. He kissed her gently. You gave me everything I never knew I needed. Love. Purpose. Home. And now you're giving me a future. How could I be anything but happy? That night, Minho made love to her with reverent gentleness, his hands constantly returning to her still flat stomach. He whispered promises to their unborn child. Protection. Love. A better world than the one he'd built. The pregnancy was carefully guarded. Minho's security tripled around Sana. He became almost obsessively protective, tracking her every movement, insisting she limit her activities. It should have been suffocating. Instead, it made her feel cherished. At 5 months, Minho threw her a birthday party. The same birthday that had started everything. He invited everyone important in their lives. His inner circle. Her friends. Even managed a video call connection to her family in Kenya so they could participate. As midnight approached, Minho pulled Sana onto the balcony, away from the celebration. The Seoul skyline glittered behind them, but his eyes were only on her. Do you remember what you said to me exactly 1 year ago tonight? Sana smiled. All I want for my birthday is you. And I made your wish come true. His hand settled on her swollen belly. But tonight, I want to make another wish come true. He dropped to one knee, pulling out a second ring. Different from her wedding band. This one was custom designed, featuring stones in the colors of both their countries. I know we're already married. I know I already claimed you completely. But I want to do this right. Minho's voice thickened with emotion. Sana Almandi Kong, will you stand beside me forever? Will you let me love you for the rest of my life? Will you let me be the father your children deserve and the husband you need? Yes. Sana pulled him up, kissing him with everything she felt. Yes to all of it. Forever. Their son was born 3 months later during a spring rain. Minho held Sana's hand through every contraction, his face pale but determined. When their baby finally arrived, screaming and perfect, Minho wept openly. He's perfect. Minho touched their son's tiny hand with trembling fingers. You're perfect. Both of you. They named him Taeyang Omandi Kong, meaning son in Korean. Because he was the brightest thing in both their lives. The years that followed were far from easy. The underworld didn't stop being dangerous just because Minho had a family. But he'd learned to balance both worlds. To be ruthless with enemies and gentle with the people he loved. Sana thrived in her new role. She used Minho's resources to start a charity helping immigrant workers in Seoul. Gave them the support she desperately needed when she first arrived. Created opportunities and safety for people who felt invisible. Minho supported every initiative, proud of the empire she was building alongside his. They became partners in every sense. Equal forces changing Seoul from different directions. 5 years after that first birthday wish, Sana stood in the same restaurant where they'd met. It was closed for a private celebration. Their anniversary. Minho found her by the windows, looking out at the city. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. Happy anniversary, wife. Happy anniversary, husband. Sana leaned back into his warmth. Can you believe it's been 5 years? Best 5 years of my life. His hand settled on her stomach, where their second child was growing. Thank you for that birthday wish. Thank you for choosing me. I didn't choose you. Sana turned in his arms, smiling up at him. You chose me. You heard 5 words and decided to make them come true. Best decision I ever made. Minho kissed her softly. Best wish I ever granted. Around them, Seoul glittered with endless possibility. 2 people from different worlds had collided on one perfect night. A birthday wish had become a life promise. And love had conquered every obstacle thrown in their path. All because a waitress had whispered 5 simple words, and a mafia boss had decided to make them come true. The second year of marriage brought new challenges. Minho's mother refused to acknowledge Sana or her grandson. The rejection stung, but Sana had her own family's love to sustain her. Minho's inner circle became her extended family, protective and loyal in ways that surprised her. But danger never truly left their lives. It just took new forms. One evening, when Taeyang was 14 months old, Sana received a call that changed everything. Mrs. Kong? A woman's voice, professional and urgent. I'm calling from Seoul Medical Center. Your husband has been brought in. There's been an incident. Terror flooded through Sana. She grabbed Taeyang, called Minho's second-in-command, Jae-sung, and raced to the hospital. The drive felt endless, her mind conjuring worst-case scenarios. She found chaos at the hospital. Minho's men filled the waiting room, their faces grim. Jae-sung intercepted her before she could reach the emergency room doors. He's alive. The words came out quickly, seeing her panic. But he's in surgery. Gunshot wound. Ambush at a meeting downtown. Sana's knees gave out. Jae-sung caught her, guiding her to a chair. Taeyang whimpered in her arms, sensing her distress. Who did this? Her voice came out deadly calm. Tell me who shot my husband. Park family. Revenge for the warehouse incident last year. They waited until he was away from heavy security. Jae-sung's jaw clenched. But we got them all. Every single person involved. They won't be a problem anymore. The hours that followed were torture. Sana sat in that waiting room, holding her son, surrounded by dangerous men who all shared one thing. Complete loyalty to the man fighting for his life in surgery. When the doctor finally emerged, his expression was carefully neutral. "Mrs. Kong? Your husband is out of surgery. The bullet missed major organs, but there was significant blood loss. He's stable now, but the next 24 hours are critical. Can I see him? He's in recovery. Give us 30 minutes, and we'll move him to ICU. You can see him then." Those 30 minutes felt like 30 hours. When they finally let her in, Sana's breath caught at the sight of Minho lying so still in the hospital bed. Tubes and monitors surrounded him, his face pale against white sheets. This powerful man who'd promised to protect her looked vulnerable and breakable. She approached carefully, her hand trembling as she touched his. Minho's eyes fluttered open immediately, focusing on her with desperate intensity. "Sana." His voice was rough, barely above a whisper. "Baby, are you safe? Is Taeyong safe?" Tears spilled down her cheeks. "We're fine. You're the one who got shot, and you're asking about us?" "Always." His fingers tightened weakly around hers. "Always you first. Always our son. Promise me if something happens, you'll take him somewhere safe. Leave Seoul. Leave Korea if you have to. Nothing's going to happen." Sana leaned down, pressing her forehead to his. "You're going to heal. You're going to come home. You're going to watch our son grow up and meet the daughter I'm carrying." Minho's eyes widened. "Daughter? I found out this morning. Was going to surprise you tonight over dinner." Sana smiled through her tears. "So you have to get better." She needs her father. Something fierce and determined filled Minho's expression. "A daughter. We're having a daughter." "Yes. Now stop talking and rest." Doctor's orders. The recovery was slow and frustrating. Minho hated being weak, hated the limitations his healing body imposed. But Sana was there for every difficult moment, patient and loving, refusing to let him push her away when pain made him irritable. She moved their family into the hospital, taking over a private suite. Taeyong learned to navigate the hallways, charming nurses with his baby babble. Sana worked on her charity initiatives from the hospital room, her laptop balanced on her growing belly. 3 weeks after the shooting, Minho was finally cleared to go home. He moved slowly, still healing, but the dangerous spark was back in his eyes. The first thing he did was call a meeting with his entire organization. Sana watched from the doorway as Minho addressed his men. His voice was still weak, but his authority was absolute. "What happened to me was a reminder that we've gotten comfortable. Lazy. That ends now." His eyes swept the room. "I have a wife I'd die for and children who need their father. So we're changing how we operate. More legitimate business. Less exposure. Better security." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Anyone who has a problem with that can leave now with my blessing and a generous severance. But if you stay, you follow the new rules. We protect what matters. We build something that lasts. And we make sure my children inherit an empire they can be proud of." Not a single man left. The transformation took time. Minho slowly shifted his operations, moving money into legitimate businesses. Real estate development. Technology investments. Import-export companies that actually imported legal goods. He kept enough of the underground work to maintain his power base, but the truly dangerous activities were delegated or eliminated entirely. Sana watched him rebuild himself and his empire with fierce pride. This was the man she'd married. Capable of change. Willing to evolve. Choosing his family over everything else. Their daughter, Minji, was born on a summer evening when Seoul was painted gold by the setting sun. She came into the world screaming her displeasure, and Minho fell in love for the third time in his life. She's perfect. He held his daughter with confident hands, no longer the terrified new father he'd been with Taeyong. Look at her, Sana. She has your beautiful skin. Your perfect nose. She has your stubborn chin. Sana watched her husband with their daughter, her heart so full it ached. And I guarantee she'll have your protective streak. God help us all. Minho laughed softly, his eyes never leaving Minji's face. Two of me in this world. But challenges kept coming. When Minji was 6 months old, Minho's mother made an unexpected appearance. She showed up at the penthouse unannounced, her expression as cold as ever. Sana opened the door, Taeyong on her hip and Minji in a carrier strapped to her chest. For a long moment, the two women just stared at each other. Mrs. Kong. Sana kept her voice neutral. Minho didn't mention you were coming. He doesn't know. The older woman's eyes moved to the children, her expression unreadable. May I come in? Against her better judgment, Sana stepped aside. They sat in the living room, tension thick enough to cut. Taeyong, sensing the atmosphere, buried his face in his mother's shoulder. I was wrong. Mrs. Kang's words came out stiff, unpracticed. About you. About this marriage. I thought my son was making a mistake that would destroy everything we built. And now? Sana kept her voice calm, protective of her children even in conversation. Now I see a man who survived an assassination attempt because he had something worth living for. The older woman's hands twisted in her lap. I see grandchildren I've never held. I see a daughter-in-law who built a charity that's helped thousands of people. Who stood beside my son when I turned my back on him. She finally met Sana's eyes. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I'm asking for a chance. To know my grandchildren. To be part of this family, if you'll allow it. Sana studied the woman who'd tried to pay her to leave Seoul. Saw genuine regret beneath the pride. Saw an old woman facing her own mistakes and finding them wanting. That's Minho's decision to make. Sana said carefully. He's the one you hurt most. But you're the one I insulted. Mrs. Kong leaned forward slightly. So I'm asking you first. Can you forgive an old fool who almost destroyed her son's happiness because of prejudice and pride? Before Sana could answer, the front door opened. Minho walked in, already calling out. Sana, I'm home early. Thought we could take the kids to that park you. He stopped dead, seeing his mother on the couch. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Minho's expression went cold, protective. He moved immediately to Sana's side, a united front. Mother. What are you doing here? Begging. Mrs. Kong stood slowly. Begging for a chance to know my son again. To meet my grandchildren. To apologize for almost destroying the best thing that ever happened to you. Minho's jaw clenched. You called my wife a gold digger. Tried to pay her to leave me. Refused to acknowledge our marriage or our son. I know. I was wrong. Tears filled the older woman's eyes. Completely, terribly wrong. And I've spent 2 years regretting every word. Every choice. Please, Minho. I'm your mother. Don't shut me out forever. The conflict played across Minho's face. Hurt. Anger. The desire to protect his family from anyone who'd tried to harm them. But also a lifetime of love for the woman who'd raised him. Sana touched his arm gently. The choice is yours. Whatever you decide, I support it. Minho looked down at her, then at their children. Finally, back at his mother. One chance. His voice was firm. You get one chance. You hurt Sana again, insult her, treat her as anything less than the miracle she is, and you're gone permanently. Do you understand? Yes. Mrs. Kang's relief was palpable. Thank you. Thank you both. The reconciliation was slow and careful. Mrs. Kong came to visit weekly, always respectful, always acknowledging Sana's place in the family. She learned to hold her grandchildren, her face transforming with joy when Taeyong called her Halmiani for the first time. She also became an unexpected ally. When Seoul's high society whispered about Minho's foreign wife, Mrs. Kong shut them down with icy efficiency. When business partners questioned Sana's role in the family, the older woman made it clear that disrespecting her daughter-in-law meant making an enemy of the entire Kong family. The years flowed forward. Taeyong started school, his Korean and English both fluent, comfortable in both cultures. Minji grew into a fearless toddler who had her father wrapped around her tiny finger. Sana's charity expanded, helping not just immigrant workers but also offering education programs and small business loans. She became a respected figure in Seoul's philanthropic circles, known for her warm heart and sharp business sense. Minho continued transforming his empire. By Taeyong's 5th birthday, 80% of the family business was completely legitimate. He still had connections in the underground, still commanded respect and fear when necessary, but he was building something his children wouldn't be ashamed to inherit. On their 7th anniversary, Minho took Sana back to the Golden Phoenix restaurant where they'd met. He'd rented out the entire place, recreating that first night down to the smallest detail. "Do you remember what happened here?" he asked, leading her to the private room where everything had started. "How could I forget?" Sana smiled at the memories. "I whispered 5 words that changed my entire life. Changed both our lives." Minho pulled her close, his hand settling familiarly on her waist. "Sometimes I think about what would have happened if you hadn't come to work that night. If someone else had been assigned to VIP section. If you'd stayed silent instead of trying to deflect that drunk man's attention. Fate would have found another way." Sana rested her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "Some things are meant to be. I love you." Minho's words were soft but fierce. "More than I did 7 years ago. More than yesterday. More than I thought possible. I love you too. Every difficult moment. Every beautiful one. All of it." They swayed together in the empty room, no music needed. 2 people who'd collided on an impossible night and built something unbreakable. But life had one more challenge to throw at them. When Minji was 3 and Sana had just celebrated her 33rd birthday, she discovered a lump during a self-exam. Terror unlike anything she'd experienced before flooded through her. The doctor's visit confirmed her fears. Cancer. Early stage, but aggressive. Treatment would be difficult, painful, and there were no guarantees. Sana sat in the doctor's office, the diagnosis echoing in her head. She thought about her children. About Minho. About everything she'd built and everything she still wanted to do. When she finally told Minho, his reaction was immediate and absolute. He dropped to his knees in front of her, his hands gripping hers with desperate strength. "We fight this." His voice shook but his eyes were fierce. "We fight this together, and we win. You're not leaving me. You're not leaving our children. I won't allow it. Minho. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple." He stood, pulling her into his arms. "You're the strongest person I know. You survived being alone in a foreign country. You stood beside a mafia boss and built an empire. You gave me a family I never thought I'd have. Cancer doesn't stand a chance against you." His certainty became her anchor. Through surgery. Through chemotherapy that left her weak and sick. Through radiation that burned her skin. Through every difficult moment, Minho was there. He rearranged his entire schedule to drive her to treatments. Sat beside her through every infusion, holding her hand, reading to her, making her laugh when she thought she'd forgotten how. He hired the best doctors, explored every treatment option, left no stone unturned in his quest to save her life. But he also gave her dignity. Never treated her like she was fragile. Never let her see his own fear except in the privacy of their bedroom late at night, when he'd hold her and whisper desperate prayers she pretended not to hear. Taeyong and Minji were too young to fully understand. Sana told them mommy was sick but getting better. Minho's mother stepped up, helping with childcare, making sure the children felt secure and loved even when their mother was too exhausted to get out of bed. The treatment lasted 6 months. 6 months of hell and hope, fear and faith. Sana lost her hair, her energy, her curves. But she never lost her fighting spirit. Never lost sight of everything she was fighting for. The day the doctor declared her cancer-free, Minho wept. Not polite tears. Not controlled emotion. He broke down completely, his face pressed against her stomach, his shoulders shaking with relief so powerful it hurt. You did it. His voice was muffled against her. You beat it. You're staying with me. Sana ran her fingers through his hair, her own tears falling. I told you. I'm not that easy to get rid of. The recovery was slow. Sana's body had been through trauma, and healing took time. But she was alive. She got to watch Taeyong perform in his school play. Got to teach Minji how to braid hair. Got to grow old with the man who'd heard 5 desperate words and decided to make them come true. 2 years after beating cancer, Sana stood in front of 500 people at a charity gala. Her hair had grown back, different than before but beautiful in its own way. She wore a dress Minho had commissioned specifically for this event, elegant and powerful. Thank you all for coming tonight. Her voice carried through the ballroom. 7 years ago, I came to Seoul with nothing but hope and determination. I was alone in a foreign country, struggling to survive, invisible to most people. She smiled at Minho, who stood at the side of the room, his eyes never leaving her. Then I whispered 5 words to the wrong person. Or maybe the right person. And everything changed. The audience laughed, familiar with the famous story of how Seoul's most powerful couple had met. Tonight, we're raising money for the Kong Foundation, which helps immigrant workers build lives here in Seoul. We provide legal assistance, job training, language classes, and community support. Because nobody should have to feel as alone as I once did. The gala raised $2 million. Sana's reputation as a philanthropist grew even stronger. She was invited to speak at universities, at business conferences, at government meetings about immigration reform. Minho stood beside her through it all, proud and protective. He'd stopped being just a mafia boss years ago. Now he was a legitimate businessman with political connections and social influence. Still dangerous when necessary. Still commanding absolute loyalty. But building something positive instead of just destructive. On Taeyang's 8th birthday, the family traveled to Kenya. It was Sana's first time back home since leaving for Seoul 9 years earlier. Minho insisted on bringing his security team, but he tried to keep them discreet. Sana's village had changed. The money she'd been sending for years had built a new school, a medical clinic, and a community center. Her nephew, now a teenager, showed them around with pride. You did this, Auntie. He gestured at the improvements. You left but you never forgot us. You made everything better. That night, sitting under African stars with Minho beside her, Sana felt a sense of peace she'd been searching for without knowing it. She'd bridged 2 worlds. Brought resources from one to help the other. Created a life that honored both parts of her identity. Minho wrapped his arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. Happy? So happy. She leaned into his warmth. Thank you for bringing me home. This isn't home. He kissed the top of her head. Home is wherever we're together. Seoul. Kenya. Anywhere in the world. As long as I have you and our children, I'm home. The years continued their steady march forward. Taeyong grew tall and serious, showing his father's intelligence and his mother's compassion. Minji became a force of nature, equally comfortable in boardrooms and on soccer fields. When Taeyong turned 15, he asked the question Sana had been dreading. Dad, what exactly do you do? Like, really do? Minho looked at his son, then at Sana. They'd discussed this moment, prepared for it. Decided on honesty tempered with age-appropriate details. Come sit down. Minho gestured to the living room. I think it's time we talked about our family history. He told Taeyong about the empire he'd inherited at 25. About the choices he'd made, good and bad. About the violence and danger that had once defined his life. About the slow transformation toward legitimacy that Sana's love had inspired. I'm not proud of everything I've done. Minho's honesty was painful but necessary. I've hurt people. Made choices that still haunt me. But I've also protected our family and built something that's become mostly good. Mostly? Taeyong's intelligence was sharp. 80% of what we do now is completely legitimate. Real estate. Technology. Import-export. The other 20% exists in gray areas. Not illegal, but not entirely clean either. Minho met his son's eyes. I'm telling you this because you'll inherit this empire someday. And you need to understand what that means. What if I don't want it? Taeyong's question was quiet but firm. Then you don't take it. Sana spoke up, her voice gentle. We'll never force you into a life you don't want. Your father and I built this empire together, but we built it so you and your sister would have choices. If you want to be a doctor or a teacher or an artist, we'll support you completely. Minho nodded. The empire will survive without you. But our family needs you to be happy, to be true to yourself. That's more important than any business. The conversation opened doors. Taeyong started asking more questions, understanding his family's complex history. He saw his father not as a perfect hero but as a flawed man who'd chosen to evolve, to become better for the people he loved. When Sana turned 40, Minho threw her a party that became legendary in Seoul society. He invited everyone who mattered, everyone who'd been part of their journey. The celebration took over an entire hotel, with music and dancing and speeches that made Sana cry happy tears. But the best moment came at midnight, when Minho pulled her onto the balcony, away from the celebration. 20 years ago tonight, you whispered 5 words that changed my entire existence. His hands framed her face with the same reverence he'd shown on their first night together. All I want for my birthday is you. And you made it come true. Sana smiled up at him. Every day for 20 years, you've made that wish come true. I'm not done yet. Minho dropped to one knee, pulling out a ring that took her breath away. Will you marry me again? Renew our vows? Promise me another 20 years? Yes. She pulled him up, kissing him with everything she felt. Yes to another 20 years. Yes to forever. They renewed their vows 6 months later, this time with both families present. Mrs. Kong stood beside Sana's mother, both women weeping with joy. Taeyong and Minji served as official witnesses, their faces glowing with love for their parents. Minho's vows were simple but devastating. 20 years ago, I heard 5 words and decided to make them come true. Today, I promise you 5 more. I will always choose you. In sickness and health. In danger and peace. In every lifetime and every universe. I will always choose you. Sana's vows came from equally deep within. You heard my birthday wish and made it real. You showed me that love doesn't have to be gentle to be good. That protection isn't possession. That choosing someone every single day is what makes forever possible. I choose you today. Tomorrow. Every day after. The years that followed were golden. Minho fully retired from the underground by his 50th birthday, handing control of even the gray areas to trusted lieutenants. He focused on legitimate empire building and philanthropy, partnering with Sana on increasingly ambitious projects. They built schools in Kenya and community centers in Seoul. Funded scholarships for immigrant students. Created programs that helped families on both continents. Their children grew into remarkable adults, comfortable in multiple cultures, fluent in multiple languages, committed to using their privilege for good. Taeyong surprised everyone by choosing medicine, becoming a doctor who specialized in oncology after watching his mother's cancer fight. Minji followed her father into business but focused on sustainable development and ethical practices. On their 30th anniversary, Sana and Minho returned once more to the Golden Phoenix restaurant. It had changed ownership twice since their first meeting, but Minho had bought it back for sentimental reasons. They sat in the same private room where everything had started, the space preserved exactly as it had been 3 decades earlier. "Do you ever regret it?" Sana asked quietly. "Choosing me that night? Your life would have been simpler without me." "Simpler maybe." Minho reached across the table to take her hands. "But completely empty. You gave me everything that matters. Love. Family. Purpose. A reason to become someone better than I was." His thumbs traced circles on her palms. "Every difficult moment was worth it. Every challenge we faced together. Every tear and fight and scary diagnosis. All of it. Because at the end of every hard day, I got to come home to you. You made my birthday wish come true." Sana smiled through tears. "Every single day for 30 years. And I'll keep making it come true until my last breath," Minho promised. "Beyond that if the universe allows it. You're mine forever, Sana Kong. My wife. My home. My everything." They left the restaurant hand in hand, walking into Seoul's night like they had so many times before. Two people from different worlds who'd collided on one impossible evening. A birthday wish that had become a life promise. A mafia boss brought to his knees by 5 desperate words from a beautiful waitress who didn't even know what she was asking for. But he'd known. The moment those words left her lips, Kong Minho had understood with perfect clarity that this woman was his destiny. His salvation. His entire future wrapped up in curves and courage and a whispered birthday wish. And he'd made it come true. Every single day for the rest of their lives, he made it come true. Because that's what you do when you love someone with your whole soul. You listen to their wishes, even the ones they don't mean. You make promises with your entire being. You choose them over and over, through every challenge and triumph. You make their wishes come true. All I want for my birthday is you. The 5 words that changed everything. The wish that became reality. The love story that proved some collisions aren't accidents. Their destiny finally finding its way home. The end. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. If this story made your heart race, hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Afrokorean stories for more tales of impossible love, dangerous men, and the fierce women who transform them. Drop a comment telling us your favorite moment from Sana and Minho's story, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next romantic adventure. Until next time, besties. Keep believing in love that conquers everything.